Admiral James Stone stood at the window of Earth's orbital command center, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as he watched Earth rotate slowly below. 40 years in the military hadn't prepared him for this moment. The massive alien ship had appeared just beyond Mars' orbit less than 6 hours ago, and now humanity faced its first contact with an advanced civilization. The command center buzzed with controlled chaos. Screens displayed the incoming vessel, a behemoth of gleaming metal that made Earth's largest ships look like toys in comparison. But Stone's expression remained calm, even as his mind raced through countless scenarios they had practiced for this very situation. "Sir, they're broadcasting again," Lieutenant Reed called out from her communication station. Same message as before, but now in 12 different Earth languages. Stone nodded, walking to the central holographic display. The message flickered to life above the projection table, showing a tall, humanoid figure dressed in ornate military regalia. The alien's purple skin and 4 eyes might have seemed shocking hours ago, but the command crew had grown used to the sight. "People of Earth," the recording began in perfectly accentless English. "I am Grand Envoy Thex of the Galactic Empire. Your primitive world has been discovered and cataloged. You will surrender your sovereignty and integrate into our dominion within 48 Earth hours, or face immediate military action. Resistance is both futile and illogical. Your technological level has been assessed as Category 3, barely spacefaring. Accept our generous offer of protection and guidance." Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Empire had made their first mistake. They'd badly underestimated Earth's capabilities. While their ships were indeed more advanced, the aliens had missed something crucial: humanity's hidden strength. "Status of the orbital defense grid?" Stone asked quietly. Colonel Barnes checked his tablet. "All 1,500 platforms remain undetected." "Sir, the Empire's scans can't penetrate our quantum camouflage. They have no idea what we've got waiting for them." Stone remembered the decades of preparation that had gone into this moment. After discovering unusual signals from deep space in 2035, Earth's nations had united in an unprecedented way. The United Defense Force was formed, and the world's best scientists worked tirelessly to advance human technology while keeping it hidden from outside observation. "Sir," Major Thompson interrupted, "the President is ready for the emergency council meeting." Stone straightened his uniform and headed to the secure conference room. On the main screen, 20 faces appeared, the leaders of Earth's most powerful nations. Their expressions were grim but determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," Stone began, "the Empire has given us 48 hours to surrender. Their scans show they have roughly 300 warships waiting behind their diplomatic vessel. Based on our analysis, they're expecting no real resistance. They see us as primitive, using our visible satellite network and early space colonies as their only reference points." The Chinese premier spoke up first. "And our actual capabilities? They haven't detected any of our Phase EU technology. The orbital grid, lunar base, and our fleet remain invisible to their scans. Most importantly, they're completely unaware of our advancements in kinetic weapon systems." The room filled with murmurs of approval. Earth's apparent weakness was its greatest strength. While the Empire relied on energy shields and plasma weapons, humanity had developed railguns and mass drivers that could punch through any known defense. "The question now," Stone continued, "is whether we show our hand immediately or play along with their assumptions for a while longer." The Russian president's voice was firm. "We've prepared for this moment for 10 years. I say we give them exactly what they expect, a primitive response. Then, when they come in force, we show them exactly how primitive we are." Agreement echoed through the conference room. Earth would appear to panic, to argue amongst itself, to show all the signs of a fractured, primitive civilization. Meanwhile, its real forces would prepare for the real battle to come. As the meeting concluded, Stone returned to the command center window. Somewhere up there, the Empire's envoy was probably laughing at how easy this conquest would be. Soon enough, they would learn that humanity was anything but primitive, and the cost of that lesson would shake the galaxy to its core. Commander Marcus stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Star Dominion, watching his fleet of 300 warships emerge from hyperspace near Mars. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of satisfaction among his species. This would be the easiest conquest of his career, just another primitive world to add to the Empire's collection. "Status report," he ordered, his voice carrying the distinctive accent of Imperial High Command. "My lord," his second-in-command replied. "Earth continues to broadcast confused and panicked messages. Their leaders appear to be arguing among themselves. Several of their small ships have fled to their moon base. Exactly what we expect from primitives." Marcus smiled. In his 20 years of conducting planetary conquests, he had seen this pattern countless times. A primitive species discovers it's not alone in the universe, panics, and then surrenders when faced with superior technology. He had reviewed the scan data himself. Their most advanced weapons were simple chemical rockets and crude energy beams. Their deadline expires in 1 hour, Marcus announced to his bridge crew. "Prepare the standard subjugation formation. I want this done quickly and efficiently." Deep inside the Star Dominion's war room, tactical officers studied their data screens. They had mapped every visible satellite, every space station, and every surface installation on Earth. The planet's defenses seemed laughably basic: a scattered network of old satellites and a few orbital platforms armed with primitive weapons. "Sir," one of the tactical officers called out, "I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from Earth's moon." Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Probably their mining operations. Our scans showed they recently established a small base there. Nothing of concern." The officer hesitated. "But sir, the readings don't match any known." "Enough," Marcus interrupted. "I won't waste time chasing sensor ghosts. This is a Category 3 civilization. They barely understand basic space travel. Prepare the announcement of their surrender deadline." As the fleet moved into position, Marcus reviewed the Empire's standard conquest protocols on his datapad. First, they would disable the primitive satellite network. Then, they would destroy any military installations that refused to surrender. Finally, they would land troops to secure key government facilities. The entire operation should take less than 6 hours. "My lord," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving a message from Earth's United Defense Force. They're refusing our terms." Marcus actually laughed. As expected, they all tried to show bravery at first. Launch the first wave of fighters. Target their satellite network and space stations. Let's show them what real power looks like. The bridge crew efficiently carried out their orders, and soon the first wave of Imperial fighters streamed toward Earth. Their energy shields hummed with power, ready to shrug off any primitive weapons the humans might try to use. "Sir," the sensor officer's voice carried an edge of concern. "I'm detecting multiple new energy signatures. They're appearing everywhere." Marcus turned to snap at the officer, but the words died in his throat. The main view screen showed hundreds, no, thousands, of previously invisible platforms appearing in Earth's orbit. They had been there all along, hidden by technology the Empire's sensors couldn't detect. "Impossible," Marcus whispered. "Their technological level. We assessed them. They couldn't possibly." He never finished his sentence. The first volley from Earth's orbital defense grid was already on its way. The Empire's sensors registered them as simple metal projectiles, hardly worth noting. Their energy shields were designed to stop plasma weapons and energy beams, not solid objects. No advanced civilization used such primitive weapons anymore. That was exactly what humanity had counted on. As Marcus watched in horror, the first railgun rounds tore through his fighter screen like paper. The primitive kinetic weapons bypassed their shields completely, ripping through hull armor designed to deflect energy weapons. "All ships, raise shields to maximum," Marcus shouted. "Launch all fighters. Begin evasive." A second volley was already on its way, And behind it, emerging from behind Earth's moon, came humanity's real fleet. The Empire was about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating primitive species. The space around Earth erupted into chaos. Imperial fighters scattered like startled birds as another wave of kinetic rounds cut through their formation. On the bridge of the Star Dominion, Commander Marcus watched his perfect battle plan fall apart in minutes. "Status report. Now," he roared. "My lord, we've lost 38 fighters." His tactical officers' hands shook as they moved across the control panel. Their weapons, they're just rocks. Advanced alloy projectiles moving at extreme speeds. Our shields are useless against them. Marcus slammed his fist on his command chair. Impossible. No civilization would abandon energy weapons for such primitive technology. Launch the second wave. Target those platforms. But Earth wasn't finished surprising the Empire. As the second wave of Imperial fighters launched, new signals appeared on their sensors. From behind Earth's moon, a fleet of human warships emerged. They were smaller than Imperial vessels, but bristling with railgun batteries and missile pods. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the EDS Thunder, Earth's flagship. Around him, crew members worked with practiced efficiency. This was the moment they had trained for over the past decade. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta," Stone commanded. "Focus fire on their escort cruisers. Don't let them regroup." Earth's fleet split into 3 groups, moving in patterns that made no sense to Imperial tacticians. Their ships seemed to ignore traditional formation rules, weaving in and out of each other's firing lanes in an intricate dance. "Sir," Lieutenant Reed's voice was steady despite the chaos. "Mass drivers are charged. Ground batteries report ready." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Send the signal. Let's show them what else we've been hiding." Across Earth's surface, hidden bunkers opened to reveal massive railgun installations. These ground-based weapons were even larger than their orbital counterparts. They had remained completely hidden from Imperial scans, buried deep underground. The first salvo from Earth's surface batteries caught the Empire completely by surprise. Massive projectiles, each the size of a small car, screamed up through the atmosphere at incredible speeds. The Imperial fleet's advanced computers registered them as meteors at first, until they started changing course mid-flight. "Evasive action," Marcus screamed, but it was too late. The guided projectiles slammed into his ship's hulls. Energy shields flickered and died against weapons they were never designed to stop. 3 Imperial cruisers erupted into fireballs, their reactor cores breached by the brutal kinetic impacts. "My lord," his second-in-command's voice shook, "we're losing ships faster than we can reposition. Their weapons, they're not following any known combat doctrine. The humans are using attack patterns we've never seen before." In Earth's orbital command center, Colonel Barnes watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "Look at them scramble," he said to his staff. "They expected us to fight by their rules, to use their types of weapons. They never considered we might take a different path." The battle continued to unfold. Imperial ships tried to return fire with their plasma cannons and energy beams, but Earth's ships were too quick, too unpredictable. Decades of watching science fiction had taught humanity what advanced aliens might expect. So they had deliberately developed weapons and tactics that no advanced civilization would consider. "All batteries, coordinate with orbital platforms," Stone ordered. "Time to spring the last surprise." The orbital defense platforms suddenly began moving, using hidden engines to change position. The Empire had assumed they were simple weapon platforms. Instead, they were fully mobile combat stations, able to reposition and create killing zones across space. Marcus watched in horror as his fleet was systematically torn apart by what he had dismissed as primitive weapons. His mighty armada, pride of the Empire, was being defeated by technology that his people had abandoned thousands of years ago. "Send the signal," he finally ordered, his voice hollow. "Request reinforcements. All ships fall back to defensive positions." But the humans weren't about to let their opponents regroup. The real battle was just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly how dangerous a primitive species could be. The Empire's mighty fleet was in disarray. Their perfect formations had broken down into scattered groups, each trying to defend against attacks coming from all directions. Commander Marcus paced on his bridge, watching his carefully laid plans crumble. "My lord," his tactical officer called out, "the humans are using their moon's gravity to slingshot projectiles at us. They're saving fuel and increasing impact velocity." Marcus grabbed the edge of his command console. These humans weren't just fighting back. They were innovating in the middle of battle. Every time his fleet adapted to one tactic, Earth's forces would unveil another. Admiral Stone watched the battle unfold from the EDS Thunder. His crew had trained for this moment, but even he was impressed by their performance. Years of studying historical battles, not just space combat simulations, had paid off. They were using strategies from ancient naval warfare, translated into three-dimensional space combat. "Sir," Lieutenant Reed reported, "the Empire's fleet is splitting into three groups. They're trying to surround us." Stone nodded. "Just as expected. Execute Operation Hammer and Anvil." Earth's fleet suddenly split apart in what looked like a panicked retreat. The Imperial ships pressed their advantage, moving to encircle the apparently fleeing humans. It was exactly what Stone had planned for. "All ships, full reverse," Stone commanded. "Orbital platforms. Execute Pattern Omega." The space around Earth lit up as hundreds of defense platforms fired simultaneously. But instead of aiming at the Imperial ships, they fired at specific points in empty space. The massive railgun rounds crossed paths at calculated points, creating a web of high-velocity projectiles. "They're shooting at nothing," Marcus exclaimed. Then his eyes widened in horror. "No, they're creating a kill box." The Imperial fleet had walked right into a trap. Their ships were now boxed in by streams of crossing fire, unable to move without running into the paths of multiple projectiles. Earth's retreating ships suddenly reversed course, catching the Empire's forces in a devastating crossfire. "We can't maintain formation," Marcus's second-in-command shouted. "Our shields are failing. We need tow." His words were cut off as a railgun round punched through the bridge of a nearby cruiser. The Imperial ship's reactor went critical, the explosion taking two more vessels with it. In Earth's orbital command center, Colonel Barnes directed the orbital platforms with precision. "Keep them contained. Don't let them regroup." The Empire's rigid command structure was working against them. Their ships waited for orders that came too slowly, while Earth's captains acted independently, seizing opportunities as they appeared. It was chaos versus order, flexibility versus tradition, and chaos was winning. "Status report," Marcus demanded. "My lord, we've lost 98 fighters and 23 capital ships. The humans are targeting our command and control systems. They're forcing us to fight as individual ships rather than a coordinated fleet." Stone watched as the Imperial fleet's formation continued to deteriorate. "Launch the drones," he ordered quietly. Thousands of small, unmanned craft emerged from Earth's ships. They were simple machines by Imperial standards, but they carried powerful electromagnetic pulse generators. As they swarmed through the Empire's formation, they began disrupting shield generators and weapon systems. "What are these things?" Marcus shouted as his ship's systems flickered. "They're not even armed." But they didn't need to be. The drones were clearing the way for Earth's next attack. As Imperial ships struggled with failing shields and weapons, the main human fleet moved in for the kill. "All ships, execute final attack pattern," Stone commanded. "Show them what humanity can do." The space around Earth had become a graveyard of Imperial ships. The mighty Empire, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, was being systematically taken apart by the very primitives they had come to subjugate. And Admiral Stone knew this was just the beginning. The real message to the galaxy wasn't just that humanity could defend itself. It was that the age of Imperial dominance was coming to an end. The Star Dominion shuddered as another impact rocked the massive ship. Commander Marcus watched in disbelief as warning lights flashed across his command console. His mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was being torn apart by what he had dismissed as a primitive species. Multiple hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. His damage control officer shouted, "We've lost power to the main weapon arrays." But worse news was coming. On the main view screen, Marcus watched as Earth's fleet began a new maneuver. Instead of continuing their hit-and-run attacks, the human ships were forming into an arrow-shaped formation. "They wouldn't dare," he whispered. "They're going to attack our command ship directly." Admiral Stone stood calmly on the bridge of the EDS Thunder, leading the spearhead formation. "All ships, full power to forward shields. Ground batteries, give us covering fire. Time to show them our real strength." Earth's surface-based mass drivers opened up again, filling space with a wall of high-velocity projectiles. The remaining Imperial ships scattered, trying to avoid the barrage. This left a clear path to their flagship, exactly as Stone had planned. "Sir," Lieutenant Reed called out, "Admiral Peters reports the capture teams are ready." Stone nodded. This was the riskiest part of their plan, but potentially the most rewarding. They weren't just going to destroy the Imperial flagship, they were going to take it. "Launch boarding pods," Stone ordered. "All ships, concentrate fire on their point defense systems." Hundreds of small armored pods shot out from Earth's ships. They looked primitive, simple metal shells with basic thrusters. The Empire's gunners almost laughed as they targeted them, but they soon realized their mistake. The pods were decoys. The real boarding craft had been launched in the shadow of the decoys, using stealth technology that the Empire's sensors couldn't detect. By the time they realized what was happening, Earth's special forces were already cutting their way through the Star Dominion's hull. "My lord," Marcus's security chief shouted, "we have multiple hull breaches. Enemy troops are boarding us." "Impossible." Marcus slammed his fist down. "How did they get through our shields?" The answer was simple. They hadn't. Earth's scientists had studied the Empire's shield technology and found its fundamental flaw. The shields were designed to stop energy weapons and fast-moving objects, but they would allow slower-moving objects to pass through. The boarding pods had simply approached slowly enough to slip right through. Inside the Star Dominion, Earth's troops moved with practiced efficiency. They were wearing powered armor suits, another technology the Empire had abandoned centuries ago in favor of energy shields. The suits made them stronger, faster, and completely immune to the Empire's handheld energy weapons. "The humans are attacking with machines on their bodies," an Imperial officer reported in panic. "Our weapons aren't stopping them." Back on the Thunder, Stone received regular updates from the boarding teams. "All ships maintain suppressing fire. Don't let any Imperial reinforcements reach their flagship." The battle had become a race against time. If Earth's forces could capture the Imperial command ship intact, they would gain access to the Empire's most advanced technology. More importantly, they would deliver a message that the galaxy couldn't ignore. Marcus watched helplessly as more and more sections of his ship fell to the human attackers. His crew was fighting bravely, but they were trained for energy weapon combat, not close-quarters fighting against armored troops. "My lord," his second-in-command said quietly, "perhaps we should consider." "No," Marcus cut him off. "I will not surrender to primitives. Initiate self-destruct sequences. We'll die before we let them take this ship." But as he reached for the command console, the bridge doors exploded inward. Earth's troops stormed in, their armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Marcus realized, in his final moment of command, that he had made the greatest mistake in Imperial history. He had underestimated humanity's greatest weapon, their ability to think differently than anyone else in the galaxy. The Imperial Council chamber fell silent as the battle report finished playing. 12 high-ranking council members sat around the massive crystal table, their purple faces pale with shock. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the wreckage of their fleet floating around Earth's orbit. "This is impossible," First Counselor Dax whispered. His hand shook as he rewound the recording. 300 ships. Our most experienced commander. All defeated by primitives. The Council's military advisor, General Rex, stepped forward. The reports are confirmed, my lords. Commander Marcus's fleet has been destroyed or captured. The Star Dominion itself is now in human hands. On Earth, teams of scientists and engineers swarmed through the captured Imperial flagship. Admiral Stone walked through the massive ship's corridors, accompanied by Lieutenant Reed and a group of technical experts. It's amazing, one of the engineers said, examining a control panel. Their technology is advanced, but it's like they stopped innovating centuries ago. They just kept building the same things, bigger and more powerful, but never trying new approaches. Stone nodded. The Empire had become too comfortable with their technological superiority. They had forgotten the most important lesson of warfare: never stop adapting. Back in the Imperial capital, the Council's emergency session continued. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Other subjugated species had seen the battle footage. Worlds that had lived under Imperial rule for centuries were beginning to whisper about resistance. We must respond immediately. Second Counselor Vex slammed his fist on the table. Send the entire home fleet. Crush these humans before. Before what? General Rex interrupted. His voice was tired. Before they show the rest of the galaxy that our weapons aren't invincible. That secret is already out. The general activated another hologram, showing Earth's weapons in detail. Look at what they did. While we focused on energy weapons and shields, they developed weapons that bypass our defenses completely. Their kinetic weapons are simple but devastating. Their battle tactics are unpredictable. They think differently. In Earth's orbit, Admiral Stone received a priority message from the United Defense Force headquarters. More Imperial ships had been detected at the edge of the solar system, but they weren't attacking. Instead, they were holding position, watching. They're studying us, Stone told his staff. Learning. For the first time in their history, the Empire has to figure out how to fight an enemy they don't understand. The captured Imperial databases had revealed something interesting. The Empire had become so dominant that they had stopped developing new weapons or tactics. Why change what had worked for 1,000 years? But now, faced with humanity's unexpected approach to warfare, their entire military doctrine was falling apart. Sir, Lieutenant Reed reported, we're picking up transmissions from other worlds. It seems news of our victory is spreading fast. Some of the Empire's subject worlds are. They're asking for our help. Stone had expected this. Earth's victory wasn't just a military achievement. It was a symbol of hope for every species the Empire had conquered. Humanity had proved that the impossible was possible. In the Imperial Council chamber, the debate raged on. Some wanted immediate retaliation. Others argued for negotiation. But deep down, they all knew that everything had changed. Their aura of invincibility was shattered. The humans are sharing their technology with our subject worlds, an intelligence officer reported. Their weapons designs are spreading. Simple, primitive, but effective. We're getting reports of shipyards being converted to produce kinetic weapons. First Counselor Dax slumped in his chair. The Empire had ruled through fear and technological superiority. Now, both advantages were gone. A primitive species from a backwater planet had done what no one thought possible. They had shown the galaxy that the Empire could be beaten. And this was just the beginning. Earth wasn't just fighting for itself anymore. It had become a beacon of resistance, a symbol of hope for every oppressed species in the galaxy. The age of Imperial dominance was ending, brought down by the very primitives they had dismissed as beneath their notice. 1 month after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Stone stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Hall in Geneva. Representatives from 20 different alien species filled the massive chamber. Some were former Imperial subjects. Others were independent worlds that had watched Earth's victory with great interest. The age of Imperial dominance is over, Stone addressed the assembly. Not because humanity is stronger or more advanced, but because we proved that different doesn't mean inferior. Every species in this galaxy has something unique to offer. In orbit above Earth, the skyline had changed dramatically. Alongside Earth's fleet, ships from a dozen different worlds now stationed themselves as part of the new Allied Defense Force. Some were Imperial designs modified with human weapons. Others were completely new hybrid designs combining technologies from multiple species. Lieutenant Reed, now Captain Reed, approached Stone after his speech. "Sir, the Imperial delegation has arrived. They're ready to sign the treaty." The Imperial representatives looked different now. Gone were the ornate uniforms and arrogant expressions. They had learned humility the hard way. First Counselor Dax himself led the delegation, his once proud shoulders now slightly bent. "Admiral Stone," Dax said formally, "the Empire accepts Earth's terms. We will recognize the independence of any world that wishes to join your alliance. We will also share our technological database with all member worlds." Stone nodded. Earth hadn't just defeated the Empire. They had changed it. The Imperial Council had faced rebellions across their territory. Many worlds had adopted Earth's military tactics and technology, making them impossible to control through force. "The treaty isn't about revenge," Stone replied. "It's about balance. The Empire can keep its core worlds and join the Alliance as an equal member. Not a ruler, but a partner." In the shipyards around Mars, human engineers worked alongside alien technicians from a dozen worlds. They were building a new type of ship, one that combined the best aspects of every species' technology. Imperial energy weapons mounted alongside human railguns. Shields that could stop both energy and kinetic attacks. Humanity's greatest strength, one alien engineer commented, wasn't their weapons. It was their willingness to learn and adapt, to try new things. The news networks across the galaxy buzzed with reports of the historic treaty signing. Earth, a planet that most species hadn't even heard of 2 months ago, had become the center of a new galactic order. Not through conquest, but through innovation and cooperation. In the captured Star Dominion, now renamed Hope's Dawn, Colonel Barnes led a tour for a group of alien military officers. "The key to victory wasn't just the weapons," he explained. "It was understanding that there's always a different way to solve a problem." The Empire fell because they stopped looking for new solutions. The Empire's rigid military doctrine was being replaced by flexible, adaptive strategies. Their one-size-fits-all approach to technology was giving way to specialized designs that played to each species' strengths. The galaxy was changing, becoming more diverse and dynamic. Back in the assembly hall, Stone reviewed the latest reports. Former Imperial worlds were holding their first free elections. Trade routes were being redrawn. New alliances were forming. And at the center of it all was Earth, not as a conqueror, but as a mediator and innovator. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy," Stone told the assembly's closing session. "We just wanted to prove that being different doesn't mean being wrong. Every species here has something to teach and something to learn." As the sun set over Geneva, Stone watched ships from a dozen worlds moving through Earth's orbit. The Empire had tried to enforce uniformity across the galaxy. Earth had shown that true strength comes from diversity, from trying new approaches, from never stopping to learn and adapt. Humanity had done more than win a battle. They had changed the way an entire galaxy thought about power, about progress, about what it meant to be advanced. And they had done it not by being superior, but by being different. The age of imperial conformity was over. The age of innovation and cooperation had begun. And it all started because a primitive species dared to think differently.